So now carp fishing in the fall is just really a great opportunity for new fish-a-lots out there or experienced fish-a-lots out there to just catch a ton of carp. Now, this is specific to the United States. So of course, over in Europe, those carp are heavily pressured all year. And by this time of year, like November, late fall, early winter, those fish have kind of seen it all. But here in the United States, they're not pressured that much. So those fish are going to do what typical fish do this time of year. They're going to take advantage of nature's bounty here. You know, the leaves are changing, nuts are being produced. Nature is trying to prepare itself for winter, and you'll be just absolutely shocked how much food trees and bugs and Mother Nature will actually make for these animals, including fish, to prepare for the winter time. And keep in mind, what you're seeing above the water of a lake or a river, wherever you might be fishing, is very commonly happening below the surface of the water as well. A lot of people don't realize that. They just think it's getting cold, they're going to hang up shop, whatever the case might be, but that's not reality. What's being produced above the water, like by trees and nuts and things, are also being produced in the water via lily pads, underwater grass, whatever it might be. And these carp especially are really going to want to take advantage of it, and you can take advantage of it and catch a ton of fish. Now, another mistake a lot of people will make is they just typically won't take the time to sort out where those fish are day to day. Fish will change their preferences week to week, day to day, sometimes hour by hour. And in this trip, you know, we had some wind. I was able to correctly kind of position myself in and amongst the fish so I could catch fish. The wind died out, the fish bite died out. So a lot of people also don't realize that carp, even though they're not technically, you know, predatory type of fish, right? They're not hunting down largemouth bass and swallowing them whole like a catfish would, but they do react to wind because nuts, fruits, insects, small fish, whatever they might be foraging on in the lake that you're at, they're definitely going to look for that wind to push those things to them so they don't have to exert a lot of energy, and they can take advantage of simple things like points, trenches, gullies, all these types of different things that we talk about for fluke fishing and striper fishing and largemouth bass fishing. That all applies to carp as well. And in this video, I actually positioned myself on a lily pad point. There's shallow water sticking into deeper water, and in the fall, that's really a great spot because those fish can move not so far into deep water if temperatures really get cold, or they can continue to push shallow to take advantage of all the food that's being produced. Anything produced on the trees above you is going to fall into the lake. Carp could eat it. A lot of bugs this time of year. No mosquitoes this time of year, which is lovely, but still a lot of bugs. Carp are going to eat that. And again, a lot of those underwater vegetation, worms, plants, a lot of things are going to be around this time of year. So moral of the story there is don't rush straight into carp fishing. When you get into the kayak, your boat, or even the bank, take a walk around, make sure you're looking around. Don't fish where people tell you the fish should be. Fish where you really either see fish, you are very confident that it's kind of a fishy, quote unquote, spot. You know, you see signs of life, right? You see lily pads moving, especially if you're bringing your kayak through. If you could spook a couple of carp, that's great. Ideally, what you want to do is if you get up really early in the morning, like first light, those fish will typically show themselves because they'll be feeding all night. They'll get silt in their gills. They want to clear it out. They come up, they splash around, they might tail. For whatever reason, that's just the typical time where they will reveal themselves, especially when the water gets colder. If you're like me, you know, you run around with the kids, you got work, sometimes you just can't get out there to find the fish like that. So you got to kind of use the weather patterns, time of year, what these fish are most likely to be doing to find your spots. So you can tell I'm driving around quite a bit in this video. I'm looking for those spots. I'm looking for areas. I'm utilizing the sun. So the one side of the lake here is kind of shaded because it's fall time. The sun's just not going to be that strong. And those carp, all fish, are solar powered. So I really want to look at where that sun was hitting some structure. Those fish could forage around and feed. And I'm really looking for three things, right? The fish are going to look for easy access to food, their comfort zone, and protection from predators. And these spots would allow the lily pads, a lot of submerged wood and structure that offers all of that. Now you add how water movement applies to these spots, and that's how I was going to narrow down, or I was able to narrow down where those carp were going to be and catch myself a lot of carp. That wind was blowing that direction. I found a point with lily pads, shallow water sticking into deep water. I found a little cove protected from the wind, but that wind was going to push all that bait and stuff around that point right into the carp's face. And I knew carp were really going to look there to forage right before winter. Again, these fish here in the United States are going to want to feed up. Now, the other thing is your bait selections. If you're new to carp fishing, you go out there, there's a ton of stuff. It gets totally overwhelming, especially country to country, right? If you type in carp fishing, typically what's going to come up is fish lots out there over in Europe, whether it's Great Britain or Italy or Spain or wherever. You know, those folks are going to come up, boilies daily fishing is going to be very heavy and a lot of different tactics, rigs, different things like that. And those folks, yeah, really, they really are good at carp fishing. They have to do that because carp are so heavily pressured. But in the United States, try not to overthink it. Then I just got fishing, right? I wanted to bait the area. You know, just the simple baits sometimes really do a number on these fish. I just have some Panko, some Jello, some sweet corn. This is a brand new lake. I didn't know if they wanted sweet things or savory things, so I wanted to test them both. Let the fish tell you what they want. And just because I caught them on sweet things here today doesn't mean they don't want savory things here in a week. So I constantly bring a couple of different varieties for these fish, but the first thing I want to do is get fishing with a lot of scent. So I got some Tutti Frutti scent. I mixed some Panko, gelatin, and the sweet corn, put it all together, a little bit of Tutti Frutti on there from extra scent, and it went off. Typically speaking, within 30 minutes, those fish are kind of honing in on those baits, swimming in, and if I could get them feeding, I'll just keep, you know, baiting that one area, right? I use a method lead, I pack that bait around, I pick 2 points where I want to cast, and I try to cast in that area each and every time. So I build that bait up, I build that scent up in that area to attract more carp in, so you can catch more carp in a day. And this day we got 7 fish, which was really great in a short amount of time, no less. And those fish were active, they were feeding, and they were taking advantage of that wind. You know, whether you're fishing for a fluke or striper or largemouth bass, or in this case carp, you know, we use the same tactics for a lot of these fish to catch you just a ton of fish. Now, shockingly, I did have savory boilies. I had manila boilies, which is sweet, and I had that pack bait, the Panko corn and gelatin mix with some Tutti Frutti, and that corn caught all the fish. The most simplistic of the baits caught all the fish. Just a simple pack bait, a simple hair rig, and a sharp hook. That was it. That's all I needed. Pack the bait around, throw it in the same area, bait up that area, and the fishing was on. Now, one thing of interest was, again, as I said, when that wind died out, that fish died out. Now you have to make a decision. The fish bite died out. You got an area baited. You know, we don't have them limited time. Sometimes you just got to stick to your guns. You know you baited an area, you know fish are in that area. Sometimes you just have to wait them out. Again, those fish change their preferences hour to hour sometimes. Conditions change, weather changes, and you have to be able to react to that like the fish are reacting to that to keep catching fish. So, hey, it's fall. You know, it's October, November, December. They're typically windy months. So the wind died out for about 2 hours, and then it picked right back up again, and the bite picked right back up again. And since I already had the area baited, those fish were in there, and they were ready to go. And I was able to catch some double headers, some big fish, just an absolute ton of fun. You know, keep in mind, I did test out some different rigs. I did fish just off the bottom with some wafters. I did fish with corn straight on the bottom. I matched the hatch, fed him corn, catapulted some corn out there, fish corn on the bottom, and that's what got him. A catapult is another tool that is just absolutely awesome that really goes overlooked. You don't have to precision bait all the time. You get some bait in that catapult, it's got plenty of scent, get it into that area where you're looking to fish, that really fishy area, that cove, and just off that point, that's where all the fish came from, and that's where I really focused the bait, and it paid off. Now, mistakes, right? Everybody makes mistakes. We gotta learn from our mistakes to get better as fish-a-lots, no matter if you're doing it 1 year or 37 years. You always gotta be looking out for things. And of course, in my rush and hustle and bustle of life and everything, I forgot a fish mat, okay? Always bring a fish mat for these carp, okay? I'm doing catch and release. Carp are extremely heavy, not like a largemouth bass. You drop a fish, it thrashes around in the boat. They can really damage themselves. They can even damage the equipment that you have on the boat. One flicked a pair of pliers overboard, right? I forgot my mat, and so I don't want the fish on the non-skid here because you're gonna get injured. So, you know, I try to put them in my lap. I always try to unhook the fish in the water, in the net, and you know, just fish care is so important here. So I really forgot the mat. I thought that was a pretty bad mistake. I'm not gonna forget it again. It's gonna stay in the kayak here. And then of course, something else I forgot was my Carp Care. Okay, again, now in a largemouth bass, fish-a-lot, dominant country that we live in, we don't think about fish care too much for some reason. Even a largemouth bass, any fish you put a hook through its face is gonna get injured. So this is the Gardener's Intensive Carp Care. So basically you put a hole in the fish's mouth from a hook, or in my case, they scrape themselves up on the non-skid. You can just spray it. It's like Neosporin for fish. You just spray it on there. It prevents the fish from getting infected. It's a really, really good option. Don't make sure you forget it like I did on this trip. And unfortunately, yeah, I did scrape up the fish a little bit. The other thing I wish I brought was a lower diameter net. Now what I mean by that is the holes in the net were just a little bit too big that I had. I'm getting another net that has lower diameter holes. You know, your typical carp net in a kayak is just too big. It's too big, it's too meshy. It'll just get hung up in everything and I don't want to rip it. So what I try to do is use a rubber net. Now that rubber really helps out with bigger fish because if I do have to lay them on the deck or on a fish mat, that rubber actually actually does protect the fish from getting injured. And you know, I am in a kayak, so I do need kind of a small net, but big enough net for a big 20, 30, 40-pound carp. And I don't want those spines going through the holes of the net and getting that fish injured. But if it does, at least remember your Carp Care so you can sort them out. So, you know, fall is just that great of a time period to fish. And if you want to see these tactics in action that we're talking about, go to click on this video right here. We're in the Potomac. I have videos in the Cooper River. I have videos from the pond. But this video right here is a fall fishing video in the Potomac River where I use a lot of these same spot finding tactics and a lot of the same lures to catch a lot of carp and some really big blue catfish. So enjoy the video. I'll see you out there on the water. Thanks for tuning in, Fish Lots.